You take one slice of bread, then a second slice of bread, bit of softened butter, spread that on top generously, grated, melty, rich, luscious cheese. But let's not forget the gnarly onion jam that takes this sandwich into outer space. Caramelisation! That's definitely not a word, but caramelization. And we close her up. And if you've been paying attention, then you should know by now that this is one mean grilled cheese. Oh, and did I mention the almost instant tomato soup that accompanies this bad boy? You can thank me later, but right now we need to get going. To the kitchen. Let's kick things off with a cooling gazpacho to go with our grilled cheese sandwich. Tinned tomatoes are one hell of a staple shortcut that yields sweet results. A couple of tins of the good stuff should do the job. To keep this kinda authentic, we're adding 1 half-peeled cucumber. This is getting blended, so roughly chopped will do just fine. A couple of red peppers from a jar is a great way to add in some additional sweetness, especially if your tomatoes are not the best. It's a good idea to add 1 or 2 scallions for a bit of a bite, but half a sweet onion also does the job. We're bashing 1 clove of garlic free from its peel and giving it the quick slice treatment that will help it blend better. These are all heading into the blender and getting the much needed acidity and aroma kick of 1 whole lime. A strong pinch of salt, and I cannot stress this enough, tomatoes love salt. A crack of the good stuff, aka freshly cracked black pepper. A smidge of tomato puree for some additional tomato flavor. A half tin of water to loop everyone nicely, and we can go ahead with the blending. That is, if we manage to get the right button on our futuristic blending device and its sophisticated 2-button user interface. Once located, the on switch can be switched on to engage the tomato vortex and crush its contents to oblivion. A touch of balsamic vinegar can add some additional flavor and an extra acidity kick. And last but by no means least, we need to very slowly drizzle in some good quality olive oil into the running blender. The oil will emulsify into our beloved tomato vortex, lending it its richness and turning it a light red color, or a shade of orange. I don't know, you let me know. This is a cold soup after all, and the quickest way I could think of chilling it was pouring it over some ice and sending it into the fridge. But if you're in a rush to taste the product of your efforts, a glass of this stuff over ice actually feels pretty refreshing. Okay, moving on to the good stuff, the components of our grilled cheese sandwich. And what better place to start than a radioactive amount of onions that we'll tame by caramelizing slowly into a gnarly caramelized onion jam. And while we're in this together, here's a questionable ChatGPT generated onion joke. What's an onion's favorite dance move? The salsa, because it makes everyone cry. I'm sorry. And we're chopping our way through all of our onion halves until everyone is of a similar matchstick size and shape without sweating how uniform everything comes out. If anything, treat this as a great chopping practice and a cheap therapy session. A copious amount of onion requires an equally copious amount of butter, which will melt in a large enough vessel over medium heat while stirring to stimulate even melting. Once it picks up a lovely golden hue, it's time to add in the onions and season with a good few cracks of salt. Stir everyone cozy and cover with the lid. Returning every few minutes or so to stir and cover the onions, we'll soon see everyone turning a deep amber color. It is at this stage that we can add in our brown sugar and balsamic vinegar, which will both deglaze the bottom of the pan but also begin the thickening process. Some stirring over gentle heat will reduce the balsamic and turn everything into the sticky goodness we've been looking for. Move this most precious of condiments to a fitting bowl. Or go avant-garde and knead it straight off your tabletop. It will taste incredible either way. Now let's talk cheese. We're using a mixture of 2 widely available kinds. A cheddar, some form of cheddar, any cheddar really. Go mild, go wild, live your dreams. This stuff will provide the majority of tangy goodness. We're also going for low moist mozzarella, the type often used for pizza. This stuff melts beautifully and will help us with the cheesy sensation that we're after in a grilled cheese. Prepping these is nice and easy, just grab yourself your good or trusted box grater and give them the large grater business. You know, the side that you use 99.9% of the time when box grating. Make sure everyone gets a good view from up top, and I think it's about time we talk bread. I'm yet to find bread I don't like. Having said that, I specifically like sourdough for a grilled cheese because of that extra tangy funk it gives you, and its crackling crust that for me pairs perfectly with a deeply caramelized buttery crumb. Must you use sourdough bread? Hell no. Use whatever you have on hand. Use the stale loaf you've had lying around your counter for the past few days, or the fluffy white bread you got this morning. Use whatever you have and enjoy the nuances different bread will give you. When it comes to the cut size, I prefer things at the thick end so that every bite feels like a small feed. Oh, and I should have probably mentioned this at the very beginning, but it really pays off to take some butter out of the fridge as you begin your grilled cheese journey. You find it much easier to spread on your bread slices that way and get good coverage, which is most important for getting an even caramelization on the crumb. Anywho, we'll also need to mix the cheese we grated earlier with some of the caramelized onion jam we made. No guides, ratios are entirely up to you. And now let's finally cook this thing. To a large preheated or medium frying pan, we're adding buttered side down, 2 bread slices at a time and topping them as generously as deep fit with our mix of mixtures. And yes, you can go too generous, before closing everyone with any lid that will fit on top. A couple of minutes from now, the bottoms will start crisping up beautifully. And this is when we want to join the two halves, burning our fingers to oblivion but exposing and marveling at the beauty that is soon to be our grilled cheese sandwich. A couple of additional moments on the heat and it looks like it's time we take this bad boy out of the pan. If you're also cooking for a loved one or just pigging out, a second sandwich will come in handy, so we might as well repeat the process. My second attempt yielded some pretty melty results, which I must say I'm looking forward to examining at a closer look. Drumroll please! And there it is, ladies and gents, time to cut her open. Squeezing this defenseless grilled cheese sandwich feels both wrong and incredibly satisfying at the same time. But let's not forget our cooling gazpacho, which has magically switched bowls in the fridge and looking pretty sharp. Time for the money shot. As I crack my way into the crunchy exterior, making my way into the rich, gnarly and painfully divine filling, I come to the excruciating realization that no words can do this simple, yet heavenly sandwich any justice. Its tomato sidekick helps reset everything back into place with its cool presence in a selfless act of sacrifice, so that you can once again experience the bliss that is the grilled cheese sandwich. Too much? Perhaps, but I guess we won't know until you've actually made your own. Now go subscribe. Until next time.